All right, let's take a look at how to prepare an image for printing, and then in the next lesson, we'll look at how to prepare an image for the internet. But for now, let's take a look at this image of Courtney, and we're going to print this as an 8 by 10, and we're going to send it to a mass market lab. Now, 3 labs that I would heartily recommend would be Bay Photo in the Bay Area of California, and then White House, and I have no idea where they're located, and White Wall, which is in New York, actually based in Cologne, Germany. White Wall particularly will send you really, really good black and whites. Bay Photo is an excellent, excellent mass market print lab, and I can't recommend them enough because they do feature my favorite paper of all time, and we'll get to that when we look at how to send an image to Bay Photo. But for now, let's look at how we want to situate this image. Now, we could simply crop the image the way it looks at 8 by 10, and there's nothing wrong with that. But let's look at a couple of considerations when we make that decision. And up here, we have the 8 by 10 aspect ratio, 8 by 10, and that looks pretty good. And actually what we're doing is we're making an 8 by 10 portrait orientation out of a landscape orientation. Nothing wrong with that at all. Now the question comes is, how do we want to situate this image? And some people might want to take this right here and get all the hair in that they possibly can. And when we look at that, you may or may not like that. Again, this is a very subjective part of this process. I'm going to go back and we're going to start again. And maybe just like it with the eyes in the very center, I kind of lean towards that a little bit. Let's look at the other option. We could go landscape orientation on this image, but I'll point one thing out to you, is that you've got all this black space over here and a lot of black space over here that you really don't need. It's not adding anything to the image, and it really increases the chance that you could have a crease in the image over there, or you could have a hair or a piece of dust in the print process. And then when you get it, you go, what is that? So don't invite problems where problems don't exist. And I think this image would be a lot better in the portrait orientation just like that. And I would recommend maybe taking the eyes over to there, maybe about as far as I would go on it. But now the head is centered in the image. We have good cropping and maybe just a tiny, tiny little bit down to bring off some of the dead space above her head right there. And I think this one is ready to go. Now, the next thing we want to do is we want to change this, and I already have it populated, but you'll want to put in 8 IN, which tells Photoshop inches, and then 10 IN, which obviously tells Photoshop inches, at 300 pixels per inch. Now, the reason the 300 pixels per inch is important is because every single photo lab in America wants you to send them their image at 300 pixels per inch. And the reason for that is because it reduces their workload when they get ready to print your order and a lot of other people's order. They have to maximize the space on the roll of paper. Now, that roll of paper is 50, sometimes 100 feet long. But throughout their workday, they print all kinds of different orders, and they want to take those orders and arrange them on that roll of paper in the most efficient way possible. And if they have to constantly change resolution, which could impact the quality of the image, it really log jams their workflow, and you don't want to do that. So always send at least to the best of your ability. You're not always going to succeed, but to the best of your ability, whenever you send an image to a photo lab, make sure it's 300 pixels per inch resolution, okay? So now we have 8 by 10 by 300. We're going to hit return, and that's our final image. Let's take a look at 100%, and we do not want to sharpen this image. Let me repeat myself. We do not want to sharpen this image. It's perfect the way it is. You sharpen this, and you're going to ruin it. So let's go back to full view. Now the next thing you want to do is another very important part. We're going to edit, convert to profile. Now as you look at this image, you'll notice that we processed it in the ProPhoto RGB color space. And that's what you always want to do. That allows you to have all of the digital information that your camera was capable of capturing in the image when you put it into the workspace and you do your changes on the image. It will always result better if you do that. Then when you get ready to output it, you want to change it to the sRGB color space. Now, every printer on planet Earth prints in sRGB. So once again, you're going to reduce the workload that the lab has to do on your image, and they will thank you silently for that. So you're going to go ahead and hit OK. Now, you saw what happened to the image. You had a slight change there. It actually did not change the image at all. Let's go before and after, and it looks exactly the same, and that's a good thing, okay, because Photoshop was able to do the conversion between the ProPhoto color space and the sRGB color space and translate all those numbers in a way that the lab can use it. Now, color spaces is a subject that's really outside the purview of this course. Just trust me, accept that you need to change the image into the sRGB color space. The next thing you're going to do is come up to File, Save As. Don't do Export. Do not do Export. Save As. This gives you more control over the results. Now, I'm going to tell you one thing that you should do here, and this is the voice of experience speaking. They lost my image and I had to resend it. So what you want to do is you want to put some terminology in the title of the file that you send them that might allow them to identify it when they or if they have to sometime look for it. All right, which means the Hawkins order is a 8x10 image of a woman that has blonde hair. That's really all they need. And if they see that as they scroll through the different files that have come in from different customers, there's the Hawkins file. Okay, this is the one we're looking for. They found it. I didn't have to resend it to them, okay? So that's where that comes from. We're going to go ahead and hit save. And we want to do that because I had saved this before. And then we just want to hit OK. Now, when you see this, including layers will increase the file size. Cancel, cancel, go back to your layer stack, and I've got, for some reason, and don't ask me why because I don't know, but I don't really care at this point. If it says that there's more than one layer, then just flatten the image just like that, and when it says background, it's ready to go. So you're going to go Image, no, you're going to go File, Save As. It's got the terminology and the title of the file. Hit Save. Hit OK. And now you're ready to upload the image to the print lab. Now you'll notice that in this entire process, I never mentioned what format you should save your image in before you send it up to the photo lab. Most photo labs will tell you they want you to send them a JPEG, and this is where I differ with their requirements. Because once they get it, you'll remember that I told you that once they get it, they will do their own changes on the image. They'll either brighten it or darken it or adjust the color or what have you. And when they do that, they have to save the image. Anytime you save a JPEG, you reduce the quality of the image because you're compressing a compressed image and further compressing a compressed image. If they have to do 2 or 3 things to the image, they've had to save that image 3 or 4 times. And I don't want that to happen. My print's going to look awful by the time I get it back. But now if you send them a TIFF, doing those multiple saves won't degrade the image. You can save a TIFF 100 times and it won't degrade, because all the digital information is there and it's not compressed. So send a TIFF, and you might call them and say, I'm going to send you a TIFF. BayPhoto especially, no problem, send them a TIFF. Now, once they get it all adjusted, they will convert it into a JPEG, but don't you send them a JPEG. Send them a TIFF. It'll be in sRGB color space, which is okay, but it will also be in 16-bit, hopefully, if that's how you processed the image. So it will come to them in 16-bit, they can do their corrections, and then when they convert it to a JPEG, you've got all that image quality built into the conversion from a TIFF to a JPEG. This might be slightly confusing to you. There's times in this tutorial that you're just going to have to trust me. Send them a TIFF. It'll take forever to upload, and you might get a mistake. You might get an error message from the upload process. Call the company, call BayPhoto, call Whitewall, call White House Custom Color, and tell them what you're trying to do, and they'll fix it. They'll arrange it. Don't let them say, send us a JPEG. If they insist, if they refuse to accept your order, unless you send them a JPEG, don't use that lab. That's one reason I like BayPhoto, is because they'll take the TIFF, and that's what you want. And further, I own my own high-quality 24-inch large format 12-ink top-of-the-line Canon printer. I never print a JPEG. I always print a TIFF. Does it take forever? Yes, it takes forever, but the quality is there. So send only a TIFF. Now, let's go and take a look at Bayphoto, and I'll give you just a little bit of a suggestion on how to do your images when you send these. All right, here's order. Now, you can use the Rose software. It's a little bit more complicated, although it does give you more options. And when you have a whole lot of images to print, you'll want to use the Bay Rose software, which you download and use on your local machine. It's not an online situation. But if you just got 1 or 2 or maybe even 3 images that you want to print, do it order online and watch how easy this is. Here's all of the choices of the kinds of prints that you can do. A lot of people like metal prints. I have no idea what this Epic Prints is. Canvas prints are sometimes very good, although they're more expensive, etc., etc. There's all kinds of products that you can choose from. Now, this acrylic prints, this is putting a really nice print inside of an acrylic overlay, and the acrylic is supposed to add to the brilliance of the image. And if your lighting is just right, then it does that, but otherwise you can't see the difference. So I wouldn't pay the extra price. Unless you know that you've got good lighting in your display environment, then go ahead and get the acrylic, but otherwise don't spend the extra money. What I would do is just go over here to Fine Art Prints. Click on that, and I've already got the image uploaded here. So uploading is a very straightforward process. You're going to choose your size right here, and here's your image. Now, let's look at the paper type. This is something I want you to pay attention to, because if you really want to be blown away by the results, you want this Slick Rock Metallic Pearl. Write this down. Moab, which is the name of the company, Moab Slick Rock Metallic Pearl. This is, without question, the best photo paper on planet Earth. I use it exclusively in my studio here at home. I have a Canon ProGraph 2000 12 ink large format printer, and I only use this paper in it, and the results are beyond belief. So do the Slick Rock Metallic Pearl, and then in terms of your presentation, this is the backing that's going to be on your print. Now, you might want a loose print. That's okay too. But if you want to have it ready for framing, you might want to go ahead and get the Gator foam. Now, if you see a choice of Gator board, the Gator board is much, much better, and it's worth the extra money because it will never warp. A lot of times when you get humidity or heat or cold or what have you, that backing sometimes will warp, and Gator board will never warp. It's the best on the market. But second to that, the second choice would be Gator foam. So choose the Gator foam, just pay the extra money, don't be cheap, and then you go through the process of paying for your order, and it will come to you in about 7 to 10 days. So Bayphoto is extremely easy to use, as you've seen, and I would encourage you to give them a try because I think you'll really enjoy the service, and I know you'll enjoy the product. So there's how to prepare an image for print in Photoshop.